to get their profit at the end of the day is what we call account of non-profit making. So under it we have a topic like receipt and payment account, income and expenditure account. What is a receipt and payment account? Why are we preparing receipt and payment account? This is a statement of cash actually received and paid during a given period, receipt being debited and payment credited. So the receipt and payment account is a summary of cash book, and it's a typical example of a cash book. As you can see, that receipt and payment, in the cash book you have a debit side, you have receipt side and the payment side. So you can see that in any account you prepare, cash book is very important because it ensures to ascertain the movement of cash, moving out and moving in of cash. So in non-profit organization, we also prepare receipt and payment when we are preparing the account. So receipt and payment here in a non-profit making is a typical summary of the cash book that we are talking about. What are the format of receipt and payment? Likewise, we have a debit side and the credit side. We have a balance BF, which is the cash in hand, opening cash, which is a balance BF. We have donations. It's a non-profit organization. So there are some items that will be included when you are preparing receipt and payment, like donations. Members of the organization, of the non-profit organization, when they donate to the organization money, that means the organization received some amount. Then we have subscriptions, we have a dance receipt, we have annual dinner. At the credit side, we have rent, we have wages, postage, stationery, honorarium, and meeting expenses. So the two sides, after getting the two sides, then you get your balance B, C, D at the end of the day. So that is the example of our receipt and payment. When we get to illustration, you will know more about receipt and payment in the question. Now we'll be talking, after we'll talk about the receipt and payment, we'll be talking about income and expenditure. Income and expenditure, this is the account which show the summary of revenue cost of non-profit making organization. It is a part of double entry and also follow the same principles as the profit and loss account of trading concern. Here what we are trying to tell you is that it is just a typical example of preparing trading profit and loss account. So it represents trading profit and loss account like we prepare in the final account. But here in a non-profit organization, what we use to represent trading profit and loss is the income and expenditure. So it shows the summary of revenue. That expenditure is the amount that is being spent, while income, it is the money that comes in at the end of the day. So it also forms part of double entry principles and also follow the same principles as profit and loss of trading concern. So that is that on the income and expenditure. So it is the only two accounts that will prepare, and they will prepare balance sheet as at that date. This is the format of income and expenditure, where we have income on the credit side and we have expenditure on the debit side. So, and as we all know that anything that has to do with income will be credited, while anything that has to do with expenditure has to be debited. So this is the same thing as the expenses. So these are the items we have under. We have a subscription, interest on the investment, we have entrance fees, donation, annual dinner, letting of all rent received, profit on bar, interest on deposits, rent, printing on the debit side, depreciation, honorarium, wages, stationery, meeting expense. So the difference between, if the income is higher than the expenditure, we have a surplus of income over expenditure. Why? If expenditure is greater than the income, we have a deficit at the end of the day. So you can see here that it represents, because though it is not a profit making, because if it is a profit, we will have said so, but here it is a surplus, because the reason being that the reason why we are planning income and expenditure is that, you know, when it's not profit of making organization, but that's why the fact that they still do some sales, so bar sales and the likes, whereby they get profit from that sales, though it's not for profit making, but at the end of the day they engage in trading activities. So like a trading organization do trading activity. Likewise, also non-profit organization also do trading activities, but it is not mainly for profit making, but just to entertain the members of the group. So what are the differences between receipt and payment and income and expenditure? They quite have differences. Number one, receipt and payment is a real account. Yes, it is a real account. We've done that in SS1. You know, we have a classification of account where we have a personal and impersonal account. Under personal and impersonal account, you know, we have a nominal account and we have a real account. So the reason why it is real account is that having prepared them, you prepare what we call another ledger for it. So that's why it is a real account in quote. Then income and expenditure is a nominal account. So it's also a nominal. It can be given in the question that this, what is this in the exam. So it is a nominal account. And the reason why it is a nominal account is that it's talk about income and the expenditure. At the end of the day, it's talk about income. You know that when we're talking about nominal account, we're talking about expenses, income and expenditure, everything that has been incurred and money that comes in. So that's why it is a nominal account. And let me buttress another point on receipt and payment. Why it is a real account? You know, cash is the current asset. Yes, cash is the current asset, and when you know cash is the current asset, so you can call it a real account, because having adjust your cash book, you have balance CD, BD at the end of the day, which is cash, closing cash. So cash is a real account. You know, we have a fixed asset, we have current asset, so the two are classified under real account. So that is that about number one. Then two, receipt and payment. Only actual cash and receipt are recorded. Yes. Here, only you know, I always lay emphasis on cash book that it is mainly for cash transaction, not for credit transaction. The only way to record it is you only record any transaction that is cash. You can't record any transaction that is credit. So in income and expenditure, cash accrual and prepayment are included. So you can cash is there. We know when we are talking about accruals simply means when you make transaction on credit, somebody is owing you, or you are owing somebody. So it fits into both cash and credit sales. So that's why it is quite different from that of receipt and payment. Then number three, another name for cash book adopted by club. Another name for cash book is adopted by club. So cash book, receipt and payment here is another way of another cash book which is adopted by the non-profit making organization. Then another name for profit and loss is another name for profit and loss adopted by the club. So that is that of income and expenditure. It's another way to prepare trading profit and loss for them. So this receipt and payment is another way of preparing cash book for non-profit making. Then four, receipt is debited while payment is credited in receipt and payment, like we've seen it in the format. But in expenditure is debited and income is credited in the income and expenditure. So the fifth one is Receipts and payments include capital and revenue items. When we're talking about capital, is that when you purchase a fixed asset, it has to be written in the cash book. You purchase a fixed asset in cash, it must be written in the cash book. So it includes anything that has to do with revenue and capital items. But in income and expenditure, only revenue items are recorded. You don't record any capital transaction that you make. You know, when we're talking about capital, we are talking about assets, like a fixed asset, like you bought a motor vehicle, cannot be recorded in income and expenditure. But in receipt and payment, you post it in the receipt and payment cash book. So that is that on difference between receipt and payment and income and expenditure. Now, there are some terminology items that we would like to lay emphasis on in the income non-profit making, and that is a subscription. What we're talking about for subscription is the contribution made by the members to the club or society at a regular interval. It can be paid by members in arrears or in advance. Now, when we're talking about subscription, you know, where there is group of people coming together to form a particular something, is an organization whereby they want to protect the interest of the members and to carry on something in favor of their members. They are entitled to pay subscription. I can use ICANN as an example. If you are a member of ICANN or you are a chartered accountant, you are expected to pay subscription every year. So likewise, in non-profit organization, subscription is the kind of